So for your elevations, you're going to have different grades around your property. I think for the purpose of this preliminary construction drawings, you could model the topography, but we often find that topography is a little more complicated. And so what we resort to doing is filled regions. So under annotate, we got a filled region here. I will create a new filled region and I'm just going to call it solid white. I don't know if I have one. I do have one that's solid white. And we want to make sure it's a masking region. So if it's not, I would just duplicate this and rename it as masking. What masking means, it's basically hides everything behind that. And so when it comes to your building elevations, if you remember from the outline we gave you, is you're going to have certain parts. There's a thing in the way here. Certain parts of your building that are 6 inches below the first floor. So I'm just going to put an offset of 6 inches in here, and it's going to automatically convert that to meters. And so I'm just going to take this, and I'm just going to draw this line along. And you also can probably recognize that you're going to have some spots that are -4 feet. And that, again, cool thing about Revit is you could just type in -4 feet like that, and it'll automatically convert that to metric. And so I would do the same thing is, I should do it up here. And we'll draw that line down. And so if you have a loading bay door, you'll have something like this. It'll just be a straight drop, or you might also have just kind of a sloped thing like that. It's very much dependent on your building and your site and how all that works. And then on this side, it might go back up here. And then we have that same 6-inch drop on this side. So that's kind of a simple way to kind of do this on your elevations. The last part of this is we need to create a box, because since it's a filled region, you need to have a closed loop. So what I'll do is I'll just come over here and I'll draw these lines below and draw this line over to here. And what I'll do is I grab these bottom lines and I make these invisible lines. And so you can see how the line weights kind of change now. So we have a thick line, we have this like really thin gray line. And so when I click the check mark here, it's actually not going to show those other lines. So that's how I would kind of set up and do grade lines just to start with these preliminaries. And make sure that grade line is thick. You can see when we zoom out a little bit here, you can see that you still see that that line is thicker than everything else. So that'll certainly kind of help you with that. I think maybe in a couple weeks I can maybe show you how to do that with topography, but topography gets a little more complicated. I think this is probably an easier way to do it. You might want to do it both ways. You might do it with topography just to show it in the model, but then you hide the topography in your elevations. You just show this detail line, because that gives you a lot more control. So I think the other thing too that I want to emphasize is sometimes we need to force the graphics to look better. As much as we want the model to be there and the model to be visible, if it looks like crap, then it's probably gonna look like crap to the contractor, right? So we want that to communicate well. So sometimes I will break my rule of like modeling everything because we want it to look really good. So food for thought there.